What's up, Texans fans, Chiefs fans? It's your man Chess White, aka Jargon 2, and man, in this one we are going to talk about the biggest game of the season. Kansas City Chiefs, Houston Texans, Sunday Night Football. It is going down in the biggest spot, Arrowhead Stadium, with the season on the line. And I'm going to be totally honest with y'all, I fell off on making Texans videos. The last one I made was after we beat the Baltimore Ravens. The Texans started off this season in the worst way possible, going 0-3. I alluded to it a little bit in some of the videos. Didn't really think it was possible. But what we saw out of this team was a team that was terrible on offense. So bad on offense that even with the number one defense, they couldn't win games. The Texans are now on a 4-game win streak going into Kansas City, with a chance to knock the Chiefs out of the playoffs and put their chances of going into the postseason over 80%, with just a few games remaining on the schedule. So let's talk about this game, all the different aspects of it. No script, y'all. And I am born and raised in the 713, Lamar High School, University of Houston. I'm H-Town to the fullest, Texans fan since 2006. And we've never been able to dominate the Chiefs. We've never beaten Patrick Mahomes, regular season or post. This is the biggest opportunity of the season. This is the biggest game for the Texans of the last 3 seasons. It's bigger than those previous playoff games. Because even with the good teams that we had in 23 and 24, those teams never had a Super Bowl potential, defensively or offensively. This is the first team in the DeMeco Ryans era that has a Super Bowl potential because of the defense. The offense is trying to catch up. Nick Caley is trying to figure it out. He's made some improvements over the course of the season, compared to what we saw against the Rams, the Buccaneers. Early in the season, he has become better at calling plays and even figuring out some plays that work better in the red zone and in short yardage. The offense is still far from being a dominant unit, but we've got CJ Stroud back in the lineup, and Davis Mills did an honorable job. Respect to Davis Mills. And really giving credit to Nick Caserio for keeping Mills as part of their football program. And you can tell that Mills continued to use his opportunities to develop his understanding of the game. And he was ready when his number was called, and he went 3-0. And the Texans flipped their season around from 0-3 to 7-5 with a chance on Sunday to go 8-5. This is amazing, guys, and I am more hyped for this game than any game this season. I was hyped last week for the Colts game. Still not sure if we could go into that stadium and beat them, but given this Daniel Jones injury, the fracture to the leg, we were able to contain him in the pocket. He was not his self. He was not 100%, and it was very clear that he could not escape pressure. He couldn't get out of the pocket. He couldn't run, guys. He could barely move on that leg. So, looking at this game with Kansas City, number one player to talk about is Mahomes. Mahomes has been on track to become the greatest QB who's ever played the game. I remember listening to the Around the NFL podcast on a weekly basis, back when it was the 4-man crew of Wessling, of Mark, Hanzus, and Greg Rosenthal. Mark with a C. You know, I remember Greg Rosenthal way back in the day saying he believes that Mahomes is on track to be the GOAT, and this was after only his 3rd or 4th season. It's very much a true statement now. Yeah, you've got Tom Brady sitting out there way, way far ahead of Mahomes, but Mahomes racks up numbers that Brady could never imagine because he runs the rock, he scores touchdowns at a higher clip. Of course, Brady had that MVP season where he was scoring touchdowns like crazy. But Look, I'm not here to talk about Mahomes v. Brady. I'm just here to talk about Mahomes. What's a very key factor in this game is the Chiefs' health on the offensive line. You've got left tackle, first rounder out of Ohio State, Simmons, left tackle, out for the game. You've got left guard, Trey Smith, one of their best linemen, most likely out for the game with high ankle sprain. Then you've got Juwan Taylor, right tackle, very likely out for the game. Maybe he plays. Down 3 linemen, this game is very different for the Chiefs than if they are at full strength. This Texans defensive line is going to get after Mahomes, and Mahomes is going to have to get rid of the ball faster than he would if he had a healthy line in front of him. Mahomes is going to decide this game. If this game comes down to one possession at the end of the game, every Texans game this season has been one possession, and Mahomes has the rock at the end, you should put your $5 on Mahomes to go and win the game. And once again, I want to say to everyone out there listening, don't bet on football. Don't do it. Mahomes is the key to the game. He can dominate. He can pull a rabbit out of a hat. He can throw a 90-yard touchdown pass on any given play. He can scramble and get first downs. We've seen him do it from Texas Tech to his only NFL team, dominating at times with the Chiefs, multiple Super Bowls. I'm not a fan of the Chiefs. I'm not a fan of Mahomes. And the biggest problem that I have with the Chiefs is Taylor Swift. I personally believe that Taylor Swift is a negative influence on the sport of football and on the league of the NFL. That's a side topic as well. What do the Texans have to do to win this game? Well, they have to pressure Mahomes, force him into errors, force him to turn the ball over, whether that's fumbling or throwing picks. If the Texans win the turnover battle, it helps their chance of winning more than any other statistic. We've seen games where they create tons of turnovers and still lose the game, like Detroit last year. 5 interceptions in a game, and they found a way to lose it. So, the Texans have to play stout defense. That much is a given. A bigger key is the offense showing up with good execution. No penalties, no negative plays, sustained drives, third downs. Put field goals on the board at a minimum every time you keep the football. The more that 15 is on the bench, the better chance you have of winning the game, winning the time of possession. And Texans fans know that this game means extra because the Chiefs knocked us out of the playoffs last year. A lot of questionable calls in that game. But the NFL never had us destined to go walk into Kansas City and beat them because they were setting up that opportunity for them to three-peat against the Eagles, even if it was through some rigged or questionable calls. Now, fortunately, the Eagles stomped the Chiefs, and I was actually someone who boycotted that Super Bowl based on those calls that I watched. Look, the Texans can win this game, make it 5 in a row, make it 80% chance of making it to the postseason, and just have their signature win and plant their flag on the NFL. A lot of people said that moment was the Bills game on Thursday Night Football. Outstanding game. Really thought that they were going to lose it. You know, they give up a 4th down and 27 on a hook and ladder to Khalil Shakir, which as a Texans fan really just makes you be like, man, fuck this team. Like, this is like stupid to watch. I'm wasting my time watching. This is so dumb. And then the defense fucks around and turns them over on downs a few plays later, and they closed out the game. So, based on what Mills was able to do in the 4th quarter against the Jags, going into Tennessee, and then on a short week against the Bills, we're right back in the playoff mix. And CJ returned from a long injury for what was a concussion. But he looks better than Mills in certain areas. He can extend plays better pocket mobility at times. Made plenty of mistakes and was rusty. Bad interception on the overthrow. But at the same time, he was trying to get the ball to Nico more, and Nico's been coming on more steady as the season goes along. Same thing with Jaden Higgins. Most Texans fans, myself included, are very frustrated with how little Jalen Noel has been used in the offense throughout the season. This is our most explosive player on the team. He is the fastest, the quickest, and the shiftiest player on the team. He should be getting the rock more than he is, but it is what it is. He's a rookie. He is getting the return duty, but he should be getting the catches and the looks, and Christian Kirk needs to go to the bench. But, I have to give credit to the Texans for improving on the O-line. And I wasn't sure how Trent Brown was going to look coming off of his injury, but putting him out at right tackle and Titus at left guard, the offensive line has done a pretty good job. The absolute key to this whole offensive line has been our second-round pick, Ariante Ursary. A lot of pressure was on this guy as a young kid, as a second-rounder, to walk into a professional team that just traded out their Pro Bowl left tackle and tell him, here's the keys, go start at left tackle in the NFL as a rookie. He has played in every single game. He has dominated for stretches as a run blocker. He's been great in pass protection. He's had some bad moments. He's gotten beat like a lot in week 3 against the Jaguars. Josh Allen really took him to the shed. But, Ariante Ursary, mad respect to that kid. And he will be the left tackle of the future based on his performance this season. Super excited about this game, guys. I did lots of previews for our games, and I stopped reacting to each game because I was very disappointed in this team. And we were a Davis Mills comeback away from being dead in the water. But we're not dead. We're far from dead. And now it's fun to be a Texans fan this season. I mean, just in the course of a season, things can flip around so much. The Texans have proved it. They were the last team to start out 0-3 and make it to the playoffs. Maybe they can do it again this year. I'm hoping that they will. I'm a huge Texans fan. Every week I look forward to the game on Sunday. And nothing would feel better than sending Mahomes out of there, out of the playoff picture, sending the Chiefs home for the season, and doing Taylor Swift dirty like that. Because her and Travis Kelce, Mr. Vaccine Man, they have no respect of mine. So, there's a lot of things to say about this game from the X's and O's standpoint. I'm going to pick my most important player of the game for each team. That's not the obvious one. So for the Chiefs, it's Chris Jones. If Chris Jones can collapse the pocket up the middle and get good rushes off the edge for them, which they've been lacking in this season, Chiefs have a good chance of winning this game. And if Chris Jones plays like the Chris Jones of old, no one on the field can really block him. That's the truth. For the Texans, it's Nico Collins. Another choice would be Will Anderson. Now, CJ and Will Anderson would be obvious choices, but I've said this in most of my previews. I'm going to say it again. As Nico Collins goes, this team goes. We have not seen a massive game from Nico this season. It's absolutely been a down season for Nico, and I was dead wrong when I said that he had potential to be a 2K receiver this year. Turns out that's Jackson Smith and Jigba. Nico is nowhere near that. He would be lucky if he gets to 1,000 this season. But if he puts in a big game and we're feeding the rock to him on offense, the reason why he's my key player for the Texans is that the offense will have the chance to put up enough points to win this game. The defense is going to do its job in spots. They're going to hold the Chiefs where they need to. I would love to see a big game from Nico in this spot. CJ and Mahomes would be the obvious choices because it's a quarterback duel in every game that's a close game, back and forth at a certain point in the game, and QB performance is always going to be the most scrutinized. And what I've seen from CJ is a lot of ups and downs in his career. Rookie season was a huge up. Last year was a big down. And this season he had some down moments with he clearly hated playing in this offense. But now, the way that he's come back is he's shown some maturity to understand that he has the number one defense on the other side of the rock. He just has to play in a certain type of way to not give away the game and make the right decisions. Don't take the big sacks like he's been doing, and just let his defense do what they do. Really excited for this game. I'm not going to give you guys a score, and I'm not going to make a prediction on the winner either, because this is the NFL. I don't know who's going to win. Las Vegas doesn't know who's going to win. The Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites, and I wouldn't put $1 on this game either way. But if the Texans come out of this thing with the win, you're going to hear from me again. And whether we win or lose, I will post a reaction to this one, because this is the season in a game. So I'm going to see you guys in the next one. H-Town, peace out. See y'all next time.